Okay, so maybe not today, but let's talk about rings that actually matter. Rings that don't just symbolize love, but create lasting change in the world. That's exactly what Cinematographer had in mind when he created Do Amore, a company that is redefining what it means to give a ring.
The plan was always definitely to work at a company, eventually move into management and slowly keep, growing and growing within the same company. But I think what happened is probably two things. First of all, I saw that this need that I could fill, and I knew that we'd be doing important things for the world by doing it. That was probably the primary driver. And I think the secondary driver was I also just didn't love what I was doing. And that kind of just added to that, right? So I had interned with multiple engineering companies, generally doing a really great job at everything, but I never really enjoyed that work. Oftentimes I think it's me, I am the one that probably needs to make a change, but something in me obviously has this desire to lead. And so maybe it's time for me to go do that. And so I think that, coupled with the fact that I saw this huge need that we could fill and make a difference in many people's lives, it was just pretty much an easy decision.
Leaving a career, it was driven by a purpose, to redefine what love and impact could mean. And that's where the idea of combining rings and clean water began to take shape.
Rings and clean water don't really go together the way, buy a pair of shoes, give a pair of shoes, or other impact companies usually do. So our impact is simply use your life-changing day to change another life forever. And claiming that someone's going to change a life forever is a huge claim. So we were able to explain through the website why clean water is so important and why giving someone water is so impactful and can impact their life forever. But we wanted to make sure they knew that this impact actually happened. So we were really keen on giving them GPS coordinates and photos. Fortunately, we found an organization, Charity Water, that also believed in the same thing. And they were able to give us these, and they were already doing it for some people. So that was really key for us, being able to give customers the GPS coordinates, photos. At the time, but even today, we are still the only for-profit company in the world that is proving social impact through things like photography and GPS coordinates.
Do Amore is more than jewelry. It's a movement for ethical sourcing, sustainability, and the power to create lasting change with every ring sold. To date, Do Amore has funded 72 wells, brings clean water to over 19,000 people in 12 countries. And with every ring sold, the impact continues to grow.
So this is definitely what drives us more than anything. I got to go see our first water well that we ever created in Ethiopia. I had seen videos, I had seen photos, I had heard the stories. I had watched so many videos about, water and before, but actually going there was totally different. I think first of all, seeing the appreciation that this community had for this water project was incredible. Just I still get emotional thinking about how they greeted me and how much you could just feel the sense of there was this gratitude that they didn't know how to express. So just seeing that was incredible. And then secondly, the most impactful thing was not seeing the clean water project, but they took me to show me where they used to drink water. And that was really impactful because first of all, this is water that you wouldn't even, if you touch this water, the first thing you would do is get hand sanitizer, go wash your hands. I can't believe people actually ingest that. Secondly, I had heard stories, I think they had 3 drownings of little children over the last 5 years in that water source, because children would either get thirsty or they would see their parents collecting water. So one, afternoon, they would try to go do it themselves and they would drown. And so they had 3 drownings. Not only that, people are sick, people are dying from this water to begin with. So that was the most impactful thing.
So the next time you're looking for something meaningful, whether it's a ring, a gift, or just a way to make a difference, remember that small choices can have a big impact. With Do Amore, it's not just about a ring, it's about the story you're a part of and the change you're creating.
All the water projects that we do now through our partners, sustainability, not just for the world, of course that, but sustainability also, we want to make sure the water stays on. Because the worst thing would be to give someone water, and they have water for a few years, and they're used to that water, their immune system's now used to this water, and then the water stops because maybe you drilled so deep and the water table is no longer there, and now there's no water in that well anymore. And that's like the worst thing. Now they have to go back to drinking the dirty water, and it's just that'd be the worst thing ever. So, and we see this in countries that we create water projects. There are wells that stopped producing. And so that's another thing we're working on, is going in and re-drilling those wells and giving the community clean water again properly. I think having this reservoir engineering from my previous background makes me very focused on that, because I really do care about making sure that this water is actually going to stay there. And so I think it's very valid. And so there's a few things we do. So first of all, in every country that we create water projects in, it's a different solution. For example, in Nepal, there's plenty of water. The problem is the water is not clean. And so instead of drilling wells, all of our water projects there are focused through our partner on filtration. So it's on creating biosand filters that can actually filter out this plethora of water that they already have, because the water is still very, very dirty. So now they have clean water. In sub-Saharan Africa, like Ethiopia, Uganda, it is definitely based on drilling water wells. And there's two things that happen. One is a lot of times the water wells aren't drilled deep enough. So we will pay the extra money to make sure that they go deep enough so that it is at the right water table. And we're not even talking about climate change. Like sometimes seasonality will change the water. So there would be seasons where countries would have clean water, and then the water table would reduce in the drought time, and there would be no water for several months, and then it would come back. So we're drilling deep enough to make sure there's actually water throughout the seasons. And then yes, in places like India and other places, in some places it's about filtration, in some places it's wells, and without a doubt, there is a concern about what's actually going to be happening to water in our reservoirs. So I think there's like three things I would focus on. One, without a doubt, like I think in the interim, like in certain countries like India, we're doing like the best we can in our budget. So it might mean drilling a water well and drilling it deep enough that they have water. Two, we are actually exploring with various partners like desalination. And we're actually in the process of sponsoring our first desalination project in Kenya. So that is and one thing with desalination is it's extremely energy intense. So we're actually using solar panels to do the desalination. And so that's with another organization that we're working with, Give Power. So we are like looking at different opportunities, and that's one of them. And that's our first time we're doing this. And then three, like we of course really care about climate change and water and all of this. And like what we've learned is like the best thing we can do is like lead by example. And so like we've had suppliers contact us about our, how do we get recycled gold? And we will just tell them, like we want the industry to improve. And so if we can help make a small shift, that would be amazing, because even if we become the world's largest jeweler, we would still account for less than 2% of jewelry sales, right? Like, so we have to lead by example. And similarly, for example, like one thing we know is that one of the leading uses of water, fresh water in the world, is animal production, animal agriculture. Like anytime Do Amore pays for a meal for our team, catering, anything, everything we do is like always meatless, just because we know that meat is one of the leading uses of clean water, and it just didn't make sense where we're trying to help the water crisis on one end, but hurting the other water crisis. So that's like one of the things we do. Of course, all of the ethics, everything we're doing is we try to do things as sustainable as possible. So I think leading by example is important, but saying that it is a real concern. And without a doubt, we hope things improve, and we're looking at various ways to make sure, such as desalination and things. But right now in certain countries, the water wells is still what makes most sense.
Love is more than a moment. It's about creating something meaningful, something lasting. And with Do Amore, that meaning doesn't just stay with you. It ripples out into the world. One ring, one well, one life at a time. You can learn more about it at doamore.com.